Hello, you're watching News 9 Live. I'm Prajwal D'Souza. Climate change and global warming have been the topic of discussion for decades. While some countries have acknowledged that climate change is inevitable, many countries have called it a hoax. The European Space Agency has now issued a new warning regarding climate change. The ESA has said that the rising sea levels, as shown from the satellite data, is a threat to the millions of people living in coastal regions. The report has also been quoted by the Secretary of Ministry of Earth Sciences. Now, what does the report observe? The European Space Agency has reported that since 1993, the global mean sea level has risen on an average by just over 3 millimeters every year. The rising sea levels at the said proportion will be a threat to millions of people living in coastal regions. The resultant effects of the global warming can also be observed in the form of irregular rains, erratic weather patterns, and the melting of polar ice caps, which contribute majorly to the rise in sea level. Now, is the ESA's report accurate, and how big is the threat? So, to simplify this for you, I am joined by Dr. Madhav Gadgil, a renowned ecologist who headed the Western Ghats Ecology Expert Panel, also known as the Gadgil Commission. Now, Dr. Gadgil, thank you for joining me on this live interaction.
Yes, welcome. You are most welcome.
Yes. Now, Dr. Gadgil, what is your take on the ESA's report? How dangerous will be the rise of sea levels, especially for the coastal regions?
Yes, as I understand, the National Institute of Oceanography in Goa has been one of the most the major scientific institutions in India monitoring sea level rise on the Arabian Sea coast. And they are finding that, yes, of course, the melting of the ice cap in the polar regions and so are important.
Yes.
But Arabian sea level has been rising at a higher rate than was expected, and indeed is today rising at a very dangerous level. Of course, this is a matter of decades, but certainly it poses a serious threat. Interestingly, let me just take an example from Goa itself. One of the major factors contributing to global warming is burning of coal. Mr. President Trump accuses India, China and Russia of being the countries that are burning coal most. He may be saying many things that are perhaps not quite valid, but in this case, certainly as far as India and China are concerned, all the data shows that we are major contributors to burning of coal in the world. The recent data also shows that China has been taking action, and between 2010 to 19, China has reduced its contribution to burning coal by some 6.5%, and over the same 9 years, India has increased its concentration by 6.5%. The current dispensation is certainly encouraging coal and coal burning at a very fast rate, and I think this is really a very improper and unfortunate step that the government of India is taking. In Goa itself, the Goa port, the Vasco da Gama port in Goa, has been converted basically into a coal port, and they are importing large quantities of coal and setting up industries around that area to burn that coal and transport that coal. And indeed, there is a tremendous unrest and happiness in Goa about the whole project. Goa is, they say, literally being ruined by coal dust all over. Anyway, now with the sea level, Arabian Sea temperature increasing, we have seen this year for the very first time that we have reliable data. We have reliable satellite data since about 1980.
Yes.
never before had a cyclonic storm of the super cyclone velocity hit the west coast of India, certainly in this recorded 40 years when we have good data.
Yes.
First time in history in June this year, June 3rd I think,
Yes.
this super cyclonic storm Nisarga hit the west coast of India.
Yes.
And given the fact that the Arabian Sea temperature is rising at a very rapid rate, now that the sea has enormous quantity of water, but the ability to store, so to say, heat in the seawater is large. But with the overall global warming, the sea is also now becoming much more rapidly warmer than in the earlier years, and especially Arabian Sea and the sea level rise here is at a very dangerous level.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
if Nisarga has hit south of Bombay, and fortunately Mumbai was largely saved, but there will be more super cyclonic storms hitting the west coast in coming years without any doubt. And the next month may very well hit the Vasco da Gama area. And it will be a serious disaster. So, we are at a national level pursuing policies which are certainly most unfortunate and ill-advised.
Yes, Dr. Gadgil, now the European Space Agency has said that the mean sea level rise is 3 millimeter every year since 1993. Now, what is mean sea level rise and how dangerously is the sea rising right now?
Sorry, you are asking me?
Yes, doctor.
No, I don't remember the exact details in terms of millimeters. I think it would be best to talk to maybe Dr. Satish Shekte, the retired director of National Institute of Oceanography, whom I consulted. He says that the rise has been both the temperature and the sea level rise on the west coast has been at a greater rate than had been anticipated. And that I don't remember, I am afraid, the exact numbers.
Okay. Now, doctor, earlier in February, you had warned that India is at a greater risk of global warming than the rest of the world. Now, why did you say so?
I mean, we are in a very fragile state of overall environment and economy. I mean, we may talk about becoming a world economic superpower, but the fact is apparently the Bangladesh now has a higher GDP per capita than India has.
Yes.
We are talking about high per capita GDP growth rate, which is deceptive. Most of the gains are occurring to a very small proportion of the people.
Yes.
India is in a serious difficulties as far as these worsening economic inequalities go.
Yes.
This is forcing more people to be, on the by the rivers and by the coast, and the population densities are expanding.
Yes.
And certainly this is going to have a serious impact on our society and on the country as a whole. And dependent as we are on the rains for agricultural production, the uncertainty, the great fluctuations in rainfall that certainly are taking place is likely to hit us much more than in other countries.
Yes. Now, Dr. Gadgil, UN has now warned of the irreversible effects of climate change. Now, what do you think about that? How can we act now to control further damage to the planet?
Well, we can stop, we can, first and foremost, we can simply put immediate stop to burning coal. There is every evidence that solar power now is cheaper than coal power.
Yes.
And there are now ways in which solar power can be made available 24 hours round the year. In fact, there is an Indian company,
Yes.
I followed a little bit on the solar power, which promises that they will supply solar power at a lower rate on a 24/7, 365-day basis than the coal power.
Yes.
There is no justification for continuing with the coal power at all. We can immediately call halt to all this. The problem is a whole lot of corrupt practices. Today only there was some news, some former minister has been imprisoned for coal scam. You know, these coal scams and corruption is what is driving our pursuit of coal. This is, I think, completely unjustified, improper. We
Yes.
can immediately stop burning coal. This is the first thing we can do.
Yes.
We can then revisitate our west coast. The west coast is actually currently being, if anything, further and further rendered treeless by the mindless expansion of highways along the coast.
Yes.
Goa, I spent a lot of time in Goa. I was associated with the university and NIO. And in Goa, people are most unhappy that lot of trees are being cut by this expanding West Coast highway. Beautiful tree-lined areas are now rendered treeless. We can stop that kind of mindless expansion of the highways also. That is another thing which we can very well do. You know, what do we get out of these highways?
Yes.
I have driven all my life for many times since 1970s between Goa and Uttar Kannada district of Karnataka, where we had our research project. And the drive was really enjoyable, winding drive along the seashore with beautiful wooded landscape. And now, recently I drove, and my driver, who was a professional driver, he said that, look, we feel so sad. All we are saving is 15-20 minutes between Goa and Kumta, actually, in Karnataka.
Yes.
And for that, the whole drive has, on either side, rockscape. The trees are gone, and there are rock quarries along the high side of the highway, and saving 15 minutes. What have you gained? Ruining, this beautiful landscape, and certainly very precious protection of trees for further problems that will arise.
Absolutely, absolutely, Dr. Gadgil. Now, thank you very much for joining us on this live interaction, and thank you for all these important insights. Now, Dr. Gadgil has clearly highlighted the impact global warming, a continuous global warming, can have on the planet, and he has also talked about several ways in which the global warming can be curbed. We still have time. Having said that, it is now up to you and me to try and cut down on emissions so that we can further control the global warming of the planet. If you like this video, do click on the like button and don't forget to subscribe to News 9 on all the social media platforms. Thank you for watching and have a great day.